Have you ever sat alone in a completely silent room at 2 a.m. and felt like your mind was operating on a totally separate track from everyone else? Not because you think you're better, but because your brain simply refuses to shut up. Most people think intelligence is loud. They think it looks like straight A's, fancy trophies, or winning screaming matches in internet comment sections. But psychology has been whispering a highly uncomfortable truth for decades. Real, rare intelligence almost never shows up in public. It hides. It works the night shift inside your own head when absolutely nobody is watching. Right now, we are looking for 8 highly specific, hidden behaviors that you only ever do when you are completely, utterly alone. If you recognize yourself in even 3 of them, your brain is wired in a way that psychologists say less than 2% of the global population will ever experience. This isn't about being book smart. This is about a quiet, rare psychological blueprint. Let's find out if you belong to the 2%.
Hey everyone! Milo here. Today, we are bypassing the useless IQ tests to dissect the exact anomalies you secretively execute when the rest of the world is asleep. True intelligence isn't a badge. It's a deeply isolated operating system. Let's run the diagnostic.
The habits of the upper 2%.
1. Sitting in the void. Epistemological patience. The average human mind absolutely despises uncertainty. It reacts to an unsolved question the way your lungs react to being held underwater. It panics. To suffocate that uncomfortable feeling, a standard brain frantically grabs the first half-decent explanation it finds, slaps it onto the problem, and slams the case shut just to feel safe. But your brain does something that goes entirely against human nature. It just sits there with the open question, turning the mystery over and letting it breathe. Psychologists call this epistemic patience. Brain scans reveal this specific behavior lights up regions of the cortex most adults never fully activate. While everyone around you is sprinting toward false closure, you are constructing a mind that can hold friction without breaking. That is intellectual gravity. 2. Sabotaging your own beliefs. Active self-opposition. Most people utilize their private thoughts as a personal fan club. They constantly replay arguments they won, polishing their comebacks and buffing the golden trophy of being right. But when you are completely alone, you catch yourself doing the exact opposite. You take your own deeply held conviction and deliberately construct the strongest, most devastating countercase possible, just to see if your belief can survive your own attack. This is active self-opposition. It is the precise engine behind nearly every massive scientific breakthrough in human history. Darwin did it. Einstein did it. While the world is busy defending opinions they barely chose, you are stress testing yours like a scientist. That is intellectual courage.
3. The emotional autopsy.
Metacognitive analysis. Anyone can get angry or feel a wave of anxiety. That is basic biology. But almost nobody stops dead in the middle of an emotional hurricane to think, wait, why this exact reaction? Where is this intensity originating from right now? If you have ever sat alone and traced a heavy emotion backwards through your day like a detective following a faint trail, you are practicing a rare form of metacognition. You aren't merely reacting to your feelings. You are decoding them like raw data. This single habit separates reactive brains from genuinely intelligent systems far more accurately than an IQ test. The crowd is a helpless passenger inside their emotions. You are the one reading the schematic of the engine.
Hold on. Take a breath. Because right here, we are crossing the threshold into absolute mental isolation. The next 4 habits will show you unvarnished whether your brain is a lone wolf or just swimming with the current. Let's keep scanning.
The architecture of isolation. 4. Rewriting your inner biography. Cognitive flexibility. Highly intelligent individuals do not revisit their past memories for a cheap hit of nostalgia. They return to them to completely renegotiate their meaning. That deeply humiliating experience from middle school, suddenly, in your 30s, you view it from a bird's-eye perspective and decode the psychological insecurity of the person who hurt you. If you have ever been alone washing dishes, and out of nowhere, a lightning bolt hits your brain, oh, that is what that situation was actually about. That is cognitive flexibility. Your mind actively reorganizes your entire life narrative in the background, like a master novelist editing a manuscript that gets deeper with every single draft. 5. Addiction to the utterly useless, intrinsic drive. Most human curiosity is purely transactional. People learn things to make more money, impress a boss, or solve a practical problem. And then there is you. You lose yourself at 2 a.m. down a 3-hour rabbit hole, researching the neural network of an octopus, medieval bread baking techniques, or the postal delivery mechanics of 1847. There is no financial payoff, no promotion, and no exam. There is only a brain with an insatiable hunger for raw structure. Psychologists label this intrinsic intellectual drive. Your strange late-night rabbit holes are not distractions. They are the raw building blocks of a mind that flatly refuses to be average. 6.
Mid-thought course correction, real-time agility.
The vast majority of people commit to a mental trajectory and, out of pure cognitive momentum, ride it straight off the edge of a cliff. Humans naturally care far more about looking consistent than being correct. You, however, possess the ability to be halfway through a sentence, even just inside your own silent internal monologue, and abruptly stop and think, wait a minute, no, that logic is flawed. And you pivot instantly. No bruised ego, no hesitation. That is real-time intellectual agility. It is the ultimate superpower, being wrong for 4 seconds so you can be right for the next 40 years. Normal people protect their ego. You upgrade your software. 7. Decoding the social echo, asynchronous subtext processing. When most people leave a party or a meeting, the social interaction is over. They turn off their brain and move on. But when you are completely alone in your car or lying in bed, your mind does something unique. It runs a full playback of the conversations you had hours ago. You aren't doing this because you're insecure or worried about what people thought of you. You are doing it because you are decoding the subtext. You analyze the subtle shift in someone's tone, the hidden motive behind a casual comment, or the micro-expression they flashed for a split second. Psychologists call this asynchronous social processing. Your brain treats human interaction like a complex movie script that requires a second viewing to truly understand. While everyone else just skims the surface of life, you are parsing the deeper patterns of human behavior in slow motion, completely on your own. 8. The mind as a luxury resort, autonomous cognitive engagement. This is the final stage that alters everything. This isn't just tolerating solitude. It is the fact that your own thoughts genuinely, deeply entertain you. A 2-hour walk with no headphones, no podcast, and no phone feels like absolute luxury to you, not a punishment. Science calls this autonomous cognitive engagement, and studies consistently link it to superior abstract reasoning and elite emotional self-regulation. When your own mind is a fantastic place to hang out, you lose your addiction to the external noise of the world. In a civilization entirely hooked on a non-stop digital feed, you become the rarest species alive, someone who can actually hear themselves think. These 8 intellectual traits don't guarantee wealth or fame, but they do make you legible to yourself. They take all the weird, isolated fragments of your inner life and turn them into a mountain of unassailable evidence that your brain has been doing serious, high-level work this entire time. True intelligence has never had its home on a loud public stage. It lives at 2 a.m. alone in the kitchen, on the isolated path you walked this afternoon, and in the deep conviction you were brave enough to dismantle all by yourself. If even 3 of these habits sounded like someone was holding a mirror directly up to your soul, you have your answer. You belong to that rare pattern. If this helped you finally see your inner quirks as massive strengths, there are millions of people sitting alone tonight wondering why they don't fit in. Stay in the tunnel. Trust your mind.